Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Manisha Gupta. I am assistant professor in MBA department at Noida Institute of Engineering and Technology, and in today's lecture of the business research method, we are going to discuss about the characteristics of the scientific method and the steps of the research process. So, these are the table of the content of today's lecture: characteristics of the scientific method and the steps of the research process. So, we will start with the scientific method. As we have discussed in the last chapter that what is the scientific method. Scientific method is basically the method of the doing the research in the scientific way. It means that you are doing the research in a unbiased to me. Whatever the study we have do, we will do based on the result, on the conclusion of the result, not on the basis of our thoughts, feeling and hunch. So, it is a scientific method. So, there are the following characteristics of the scientific method. The first characteristics of the scientific method is the purpose business. Means the every research should have the definite purpose. Whatever you have to do, it should be based on the definite purpose. Means it should be based on the certain type of the aim, objective you have to achieve through research. In the scientific research, if you are doing the certain type of experiment, you expected to the certain outcome, that it may have a certain objective, that what we want to achieve in an initial. So, every research have some purpose. It is based on that purpose and aim. Without aim or without purpose, we cannot conduct a scientific method, we cannot conduct the research in the scientific way. Next is the rigorous. When we add the rigorousness and the purpose, it means you are doing the research in the careful manner. Whatever you have done, it should be in a proper format, it should be in a proper step. Every step should be well defined and you cannot deviate from those steps because of your certain type of the feeling or your perception. Whatever the steps are defined in an initial stage, you must have to follow those steps. Next characteristics is testability. Whatever the study we have done, whatever the data we have collected, it must be tested. The data you have collected must in the certain way through which you can derive some result or you can analyze that data. If if you collect a survey, you have sent a questionnaire, and in those questionnaire, if you use a certain type of the emojis or you ask them to send a certain type of the picture, in that case we are not able to evaluate that type of the data. So, the data which you have collected should be in such a way so that you can analyze it, you can evaluate that data and get to the certain type of interpretation from it. Next is replicability. The data should be replicable. Means if you conduct a certain type of the research and someone else will conduct the same research, then your result will be similar. Although in the behavior science you may not get the exact result, but you may get the similar result. So, whatever the research we have done, whatever the method we have planned, whatever the technique we have planned, it should be replicable, or means it should be repeatable. You can repeat that research in the different circumstances, different situation. Next point is precision and confidence. The precision means refer to the clearness of the finding and reality based on the sample. Means whatever finding we have, which is it should be close to the reality. And confidence means the probability of your result should be is correct. Whatever the finding we have we get in the research, it is should be correct, so that we can get the confidence by the correctness of the result. Next point is objectivity. Objectivity. The objectivity means it will be based on, it should not be based on the perception, emotion, it should be based on the concrete data. The research should be objective. Whatever we are deriving the result, we are deriving the result, it should be objective, or or we can say that it is in the alignment of the what initial we have started. Our research should not be deviated from the initial objectives, and the result which we are finding, which should be purely based on the data. Next is generability, means the result, the research which we have done in the one circumstances, we can repeat it in the similar circumstances. The application of the finding, the application, whatever the finding we have get, it should have the application in the different circumstances also. Like take the example of the different type of the research related to the employee satisfaction, like the Hasbro two-factor research or the Maslow research. It has the huge implication in the different situations also. So, in the similar line, whatever the research you have done, whatever the finding you have done, you can generalize it in a different situation. Like if you done a study on the employee satisfaction in the IT company, you can also implement it in the pharmaceutical companies or the banks or the other institutions. Last is parsimony. Parsimony means the simplicity. Whatever the study we have done, whatever the result we have interpreted, it should be in a simpler way. The simplicity in explaining the phenomena or the problem that occur in generating the solution of the problem is always preferred to complex the research framework that consider unmanageable number of the factors, so that it should be in a simpler or a simplistic form. So, these are the characteristics of the scientific method. Now, we move to the steps in the research process. So, first of all, what basically the research process is? The research process is the process of the multiple scientific steps in the conducting the research work, and each step is interlinked with the other step. The process starts with the research problem at the first, and then it move to the next or advanced step, and the steps subsequently. It is basically the roadmap of the doing the research, like how we have to start our research and how it is going to be end. In the first step, as you see, there are the following steps. Start with the identifying the problem, reviewing the literature, setting the objectives and the hypothesis, choosing the research design, deciding on the sample size, collecting data, processing and analyzing, and writing the report. So, these are the following steps, and now we will do one by one with the every step. We start with the step 1, identifying the problem. The first and the foremost task of the entire process of the research is to identify the research problem. We as a human being or as a company or as an employee surrounded by the many different problems. So, not every problem is worth of the research. So, we have to find out the problem through which we can, on which we should do the further work. As noted by the Fisher et al. In 1993, the problem will qualify as a potential research problem when they have the following 3 condition to exist. These are the following 3 conditions according to the Fisher, through which we can make a problem. If any certain problem match with these points, then it is a research problem. The first is, there should be the perceived discrepancy between what it is and what it should have been. Means what actually it is, it means what the result we have and what we are expected, what it should be, what is the difference. If you are like you have launched one product in the market, you have expected that it should you will get you will capture the market, or you will satisfy the customer. But when there is a difference between what you expected and what is actually happened, then it is worth of the research. It this implies that there should be the difference between what exists and ideal or the planned in a situation, means what actually happened and what we have initially planned. So if you find the difference in it, then it is worth of the worth of the research question. The question about why discrepancy exists means, if you find out that you launch a product, you expected that it should capture a market, or there will be the 1000 unit will be sale in a 1 month, or the 1 lakh unit will you can sell in a 1 year. But what actually happened, you can find out that there is a difference between what you have planned and what actually happened. So you have to find the reason why it has happened. Suppose you plan for the 1 lakh unit to be the sale in a year, but actually you are able to sell only 60,000 unit. So the difference of the 40,000, what you have actually planned and what is actually happened. So why it has happened? If you want to find the answer, then it may be your probable question. There should be at least 2 possible answers to the solution of a problem. Means if the problem is not a problem if it has only one single solution. The problem should be problem if it has more than two or more than 2 solutions. Like you may find out the reason for your product is and why your product is not selling. So for overcoming that problem, there should be more than 2 solutions, so that you can find the best alternative for your problem. The next step is reviewing the review of the literature. A review of the relevant literature is the integral part of the research process. It enables the researcher to formulate his problem in terms of the specific aspects of the general area of his interest that has not been so far researched. So review of literature is basically reviewing the what research have done in the past. If you're taking if you're studying, if you're doing the research on the certain topic, so before starting your research, you must know that the what happened in the past, what of the study they have done, what of the research process they have opted, what the steps they have taken, what difficulties they have faced, what was their outcome, so that you can find that where you are and where you have to be, and what if you have facing certain type of the problem, but that type of the problem on that problem there is already the research has done. So you may not have to do the research. So you will do the research only when you will find the gap, that what the review of literature is saying. You have the certain type of the data, you know that what happened in the past, but you there may be multiple chances that the other factors also involved in getting that result. So you can find the for finding the more answer, and so getting the proper type of the research, proper research design, proper step of the research, you will do the review of literature. Through the proper review of the literature, the researcher may help the coherence between the result of his study and with the other. So you can find the similarity, or you can find the difference what other have done. You may do the research to prove some theory, or you can also do the research to disprove certain type of the theories. So this step is the review of the literature. Next is setting research objectives and hypothesis. Initially, on the first step, we have defined the problem. By defining the problem, you get you will get the know to the what the problem you are facing. And in second step, you will do the review of literature. You will find the whatever the research will have done on that problem, what others have find out. So it will make the path for you. And in this step, you will set the objective and hypothesis based on your problem of research and whatever the knowledge you will get by reviewing the literature. So in this step, you will make objectives and the hypothesis of your study. So basically, the objective is an objective will precisely say that what should be researched to delineate the type of the information that should be collected and provide the framework of the scope of the study. The best expression of the research objective is the well formulated, tested and the research hypothesis. It means, what is the research objective means? What type of the information? By setting the research objective, you will get to know that what type of the information you are going to collect, what type of the data you are going to choose, what type of the sample you are going to select. So it will provide you the framework for the scope of study, and on the basis of your objective, you can also formulate the hypothesis. So what is the hypothesis? Hypothesis is an unproven statement or the proposition that can be reflected or supported by the empirical data. The hypothetical statement assert the possible answer to your research problem. अब suppose initially we have taken example that there is a company who have set the target that they can sell their 1 lakh product in a year, but they may not able to sell that. So objective of your study should be that like that you have to find out the reason why you are not able to sell, or why your customer are not buying your product as per you have initially think of. And what about the hypothesis statement? A hypothesis statement may be like that, maybe your price, the hypothetical statement may be like that, maybe your price is higher than your competitor price, that is why your customer is not buying your product, or its packaging is not good. The hypothesis may be that the packaging is affecting the customer perception, or the price is affecting the customer perception. So these type of the statement we take in the hypothesis. It is basically a statement which we are going to prove or disprove in our further step in our collecting a data, and after collecting evaluating the data, we are going to prove our hypothesis or disprove our hypothesis. Next is choosing the research design. The research design is the blueprint or the framework of fulfilling the objective and answering the research question. The research design is basically a blueprint, means you are designing your research, that how you are going to select a data, from where you are going to select a data, what quantity of the data you are going to select, what quantity of the data you are going to select, or what type of the method you are going to choose in the collection of the data. It is a master plan specifying the method and the procedure for the collecting, processing and analyzing and analyze the collected data. It is a master plan, specify the method or the procedure for collecting your data, for processing your data, for analyzing your data. It also includes that what type of the statistical tool you are using, what type of the equipment you are going to use in your study. So it is a frame at this step in the research design. You will frame everything in this step. It is a step before we actually start our research. In this step, we make the blueprint of our whole research process. There are the few basic research design that the researcher can use to conduct his or her study. There are many methods to collect the data, like a survey method. If you collect the data by using the questionnaire or schedule, that is a survey method. You may email the data, or you can email the data, you can email the questionnaire, or you can send the questionnaire to the hard copy. This is the way of the survey method. Then experiment method. Experiment method is always in the controlled environment. You control the environment and see that how the two factors are affecting each other. Or you can conduct on the basis of the secondary data. You will conduct a study on the basis of the secondary data. So what is the secondary data and what is the primary data? Primary data is data which you have collected first hand, like by using the questionnaire, by experiment, by observation. We are collecting the primary data, first hand data. But secondary data is a kind of the data which is already published somewhere, or the research has already done. Like we collect the data in the review of literature. So it either it should be based on some type of the primary method, like the survey method, experiment method, or the observation method, or on the secondary data method. All it is based on the what the research question we have taken, what type of the hypothesis or objective we have studied. Like the observation study will be done only if you have selected the small sample size, but if you selected the large sample size, you will go for the survey method, because observation method is a very time taking method, and in that method you cannot go for the very big sample size. Now the next step is deciding on the sample design. The sampling is an important and the separate step in the research process. The basic idea of the sampling is that it involves any procedure that uses a relatively small number of the items or proportion called sample, the sample of the universe or the called population, to conduct the whole population. Whenever we do the study, we are not able to select the whole population or whole universe, because that is not very economical. So we conduct the study by using the sample, means in the whole population we can select only the few people on which we will conduct our study, or we will collect data from that. So the sample design refers to the method to be followed of the selecting the sample from the population and the estimated technique, and vice versa the formula of the computing the sample statistics. Sample resizing is basically the method through which we selected the sample. There are the many methods which we will discuss in the future lectures, like the methods in the sampling design, the probability method, non-probability method. So what type of the sampling method you are going to use will depend upon your resources, will depend upon your type of study. Like if you have if you conduct the study in the market, you can go for the simple random sampling method, means everyone has the opportunity to become the part of your sample. The sampling design will be based on your type of the questions, your objective, your hypothesis, and your research design. Next step is collection of the data. After research design, you have selected your research design. Suppose you have taken the survey method, and after that you will select your sample design, whatever the sample design you have used. Suppose you have taken the probability sampling, and the probability sample you have taken the simple random sampling, and at this step you will actually collect the data. Like it means the collection of the data means the gathering of the data may range from the simple observation to the large scale survey of any defined population, and there may be a way to collect the data. An approach to select depends on the objective of study, research design, availability of the time, money, and the person. The number of the data you are collected, it is purely based on how much funds you have, how much time you have, what is objective of your study, and what is your research design. Next step is processing and analyzing data. After collecting the data, you because the data is very raw, you have to process your data so that you can analyze it properly. For processing your data, you may edit the data. Editing means you can remove the repetition, if you see the repetition in your data, that if you send someone a questionnaire and a person has submitted 2 times their response, so in the editing you may eliminate similar data, or if someone has filled 2 times the same entry, so you can eliminate it. And after editing, you can code your data, so that the coding means the coding means you by coding we are reducing the error in recording of the data and analyzing of your data. Data are the edited to ensure the consistency across the response and to locate the omission if any. In the survey data, editing reduce the error in recording and improve your legibility and clarify the unclear and inappropriate response. In addition to the editing, the data need to be coded. So, in the last step, after analyzing our data, we will form a report, and the report is nothing, it is a way to present your research. You will form the report, and which you will show the every single thing what you have done from the starting. So, there is some format for recording your research. The research report is excellent means that help to establish the researcher credibility. At the bare minimum, the research report should contain the certain section of it. There is a very common type of the section which we have seen in the report, like the executive summary, the background of the problem, the review of literature, methodology, findings, discussion, conclusion and recommendation. The result of the study also disseminate through peer review, means you will publish this report in some way to get to make other people to know about your research. So, these are the process of the research, and this is all for today, and hope we will see you soon in the next session of the business research method. Thank you.